welcome to another edition of Inside Government, and I'm yours truly, Charity Dunker. On this edition of Inside Government, I'm being joined by the Honorable Minister of TIAT, Mr. Roger Lawrence. How are you doing, Minister?
A pleasant good morning to you, Charity, and your team, and happy holidays to you, to your team, and all your viewers. I'm doing great.
Great. The reason why we invited you here to be our guest so that we can touch base on the following topics: the St. Martin home porting at the harbor, also hotel occupancy, restaurants, tours, and entertainment, and how has everyone prepared thus far for this season, as well as a few future projects that you're working on to come or those that are currently ongoing, and the influx of tourists during the high season, Minister. We'll start off with the first. When does the high tourist season begin and end on our calendar?
Thank you, Charity. As it relates to the high season normally starts in December and run up until April. What we have been seeing recently is that we are receiving a lot of revenge travelers, persons with a lot of pent-up demand who wants to travel freely again. Just a recent publication I was reading shows that majority of these travelers are looking for destination with beaches. At least 60% of all the inquiries, online inquiries, is related to that, and St. Martin is a top destination where that is concerned. So from that standpoint, we have seen major, let's say, influx of stayover arrivals as early as November, and we're anticipating that it may run up until May. But standard for the season is December up until April.
Okay. And seeing that we are in pandemic times and traveling procedures, has changed somewhat. Are visitors still coming in high numbers as previous years, or has there also been a decrease? Or what's the outlook on that? Any surveys done?
Yes, the numbers are looking extremely positive. If I can do a quick comparison with Q2, the quarter three of this year versus quarter three of last year, we already have seen an increase of over 600% from a stayover standpoint. As it relates to cruise, at the beginning of this year, projections was very dismal. They were projecting roughly about 100,000 passengers for the year. Based on the projections now, they are projecting over 200 passengers to close the year with. So overall, the numbers are looking extremely positive. I also want to take this opportunity to thank all stakeholders, all the tourism workers, and everyone that is participating. Thank them for their dedication as we continue to propel the destination forward.
Okay. The Princess Juliana International Airport. Let's look at that sector. Seeing that the airport is still in its reconstruction phase, how has the airport been managing with the daily arrival and departing passengers who come in, and also the private jets as well?
Yeah, that's a great question, Charity. As we all know, there are capacity issues at the airport as it relates to the reconstruction project process has not been concluded as yet. So there are areas as it relates to crowd management that still needs to improve. And based on recent discussions I had with the airport, they are working towards that goal until the full reconstruction occurs. On top of that as well, I just want to also point out there are small things that can be done in order to ensure that our experience is intact. Simple things, adding a guava berry stand, something that is unique to us, traditional to us, and even adding some live music, so at least our guests who comes to our shows can be entertained and we can maintain the overall product experience of things.
You touched on that guava berry as we're in the season, I take it. As for safety and the COVID-19 protocols, Minister, has added staff been in place as well over at the airport to ensure that the guests be checked for the proper required entry form documents once arriving on the airport?
Most definitely, Charity. This is a joint initiative with the Minister of Health, who you know is a very hands-on where this is concerned. There have been additional staff that has been added to the airport, and more so, there's also staff that works remotely as it relates to processing the EHAS application. Just to put some numbers there as well, Charity. In the month of November, we processed over 64,000 applications. So again, there's much work that is being done behind the scenes. And I think it's good via this platform to also thank everyone that is continuously contributing to ensure that we maintain our competitive advantage as a destination. So to answer your question directly, yes, additional staff has been added, both on the airport as well as processing the EHAS application, which is key to maintain our protocol and have a proper control mechanism in place. And that is being worked efficiently for the most part.
All right. As we're on the topic of flights, just next door, Anguilla celebrated on December 11, 2021, their first inaugural direct flight from Miami, Florida to their island, as so did Dominica on December 8, 2021. What does this mean for our visitors who once used our airport as a hub before heading to their final destination? Will this also affect our tourism economy?
Charity, that's a very hot button item. And in many of the discussions I had throughout the weeks, one of the things that came up, and I want to make it an emphasis here as well, what occurred in Anguilla also shows that there's still high demand for the region. Let's start from that premise. But also it have to show us as a destination that we can no longer be complacent as it relates to our hub function. And one of the key components where that is concerned to maintain our hub function is the full reconstruction of our airport. That there's been many discussions over the years. US clearance, for example, FBO, the FBO terminal. These are key components that will assist us in maintaining our competitive advantage. As it relates to US clearance, this has been a discussion over many years, many years. One of the priorities of my ministry, together with my colleague ministers, Minister of Justice, as well as the Prime Minister, is to re-establish the US clearance work group. Give them a clear mandate as it relates to finalizing the framework so we can conclude this discussion where US clearance is concerned and take the necessary steps. And as it relates to the FBO building also, from that standpoint, it is key for the airport to also take the necessary serious steps for that to occur in order for us to maintain our hub function and our competitive advantage.
All right. The voice of the Honorable Minister of TIAT, Roger Lawrence. We're going to take that break. Stay tuned. This is Inside Government Interview with your host, Charity Duncan. I'll be back right after this. Stay tuned.
The Ombudsman. The Ombudsman is here for you. The Ombudsman. We're here for you. The Ombudsman. We're here for you. The Ombudsman is here for you. The Ombudsman. We're here for you. The Ombudsman. We're here for you. Good governance is a must. This institution you can trust. Guardian of the Constitution. Not one but more solutions for complaints against the government. Protectors of the citizens. Promoting good governance in our friendly island, St. Martin. The Ombudsman is here for you. The Ombudsman. We're here for you. The Ombudsman. We're here for you.
The Ombudsman is the voice and protector of the people. Visit us at E. Camille Richardson Street, number 13 on the Police Station Road in Phillipsburg.
Welcome back to Inside Government Interview with my guest, the Honorable Minister of TIAT, Roger Lawrence. Just before the break, we were on discussions of the inaugural flights that took place over the neighboring island of Anguilla and also Dominica, and if that will bring any effect to our island in St. Martin. And of course, the Honorable Minister cleared the air where that's concerned. Home porting. St. Martin made history on June 5th, 2021, Minister. with the start of home porting for cruise lines. The first cruise line to begin their Caribbean cruise from St. Martin to is the Celebrity Cruises. That's correct, right?
Yes,
Good.
yes, that is
And that
correct.
ship was called the Celebrity Millennium. How much home porting activity can we expect in 2022?
Yes. Charity, as it relates to home porting, the port can trace back their home porting initiative back to roughly 10 years, give or take. As it relates to, and back in 2015, the home porting structure was constructed. And I remember at that point in time, the Seabourn Odyssey was inaugurated. One of the key milestones for this year, as you mentioned perfectly, was that we were the first destination, first port to resume, let's say, cruise operations in this year. And that's a major milestone. I could remember at the beginning of 2021, when there was joint discussions from a tripartite standpoint as it relates to the port, as it relates to my predecessor, MPD Weaver, together with stakeholders, to put together the framework as it relates to servicing the celebrity cruise lines. There was a lot of discussions, a lot of brainstorming, but we were able to get it done. And the positive feedback that we received afterwards from the executives as well as from the passengers was phenomenal. So again, it was a milestone. As you know, we also won an award. We are back award from that standpoint, and it continues to show our relevance within the industry, but we have to maintain it.
Great. At the moment, which cruise ships are set on schedule for home porting here in St. Martin? And also, how often will they be home porting here at our harbor, Minister?
Well, the home porting itinerary normally starts as of October. However, you know, we started earlier than anticipated with Celebrity, good stuff where that is concerned. But as of October, we also started to service the Star Flyer as well as the Seabourn vessel. December 5th, we were able to secure some additional home porting calls with MSC. Those calls will run up until April, May, or even more, depending how we continue to perform within that area. So there's a lot of positive indications that we are receiving so far, particularly from some of the executives. Our performance levels are high, so that's a key thing. And one of the other things that we have to maintain is our low numbers where COVID is concerned. We are not in the post-COVID era, we're still in the COVID era, but we have to continue to manage it properly by adhering to the protocols, because these are key indicators that are looked upon by the cruise executives to see if the destination will be a winning destination to continue, let's say, home porting calls or any additional calls for that matter.
Has a survey been done to see the effectiveness in the home porting since it started?
From my knowledge, I cannot confirm if a recent survey has been done. I do know at the port there's a business development department that has a statistic analytical component towards it. I do know that they engage on an ongoing basis with the cruise lines, with the guests, to capture a lot of feedback and apply that to a spreadsheet to see patterns, areas of improvement, and so forth. And again, from my understanding, based on the feedback that I've been receiving, not only from the port or stakeholders, but directly from the cruise lines, we're heading in the right direction, Charity.
Great. Right before we wrap up and head into our final segment, I'll be taking a break. But before that, Minister, what are the benefits of home porting? Enlighten us on that one.
Great question, Charity. The special effect of home porting is that it has a fly and cruise concept. So normally what you see, at least 20 to 40% of the passengers would come in 3 to 5 days prior and then leave 3 to 5 days afterwards. So what does that do? What does that do? Filling of accommodations, hotels, restaurants, taxis, and so forth. So there's a positive effect of it. So that's the benefit of home porting as it relates to conversion as well, from a cruise conversion standpoint. So there's a lot of positive connections towards home porting. For me, I want to use this opportunity to continue to inspire persons to maintain a customer service level, be ambassadors for the country, and we are heading in the right direction.
Well, Minister, again, there are so many questions. We're going to take that break. Do stay tuned. Once again, this is Inside Government Interview with your host, Charity Dunker, and my guest, the Honorable Minister of TIAT, Roger Lawrence. We'll be back right after this.
Do you know there is such a thing as teen dating violence? Seriously, there is. When your boyfriend or girlfriend is controlling your every move, trolling you online, checking your social media page, recording you without your permission, or forcing you to do things you don't want to do, this is abuse. If you find yourself in this situation, please talk to someone you can trust. Your parents, school counselor, or the police.
This message has been brought to you by Women's Desk.
Hey!
Hey, what's up?
Girl, I heard you moved.
Yeah, I have, but I haven't reached the civil registry to change my address yet.
Did you know according to the law, you have 5 working days to change your address after moving?
The changing of address can be done in 2 ways. 1, making an appointment where you appear in person at the civil registry. 2, sending an email to burkazakensxm@stmartingov.org. What is required to change your address? A valid identification such as a passport, ID card, or driver's license. The deed of property if you're the owner, a lease agreement if you're renting, a GB utility bill, or the permission form from the landlord or property owner, including their identification. Who can change an address? A person who is 18 years or older. For minors, both parents have to give consent. Failure to register your change of address can result in a fine. For more information, please contact the Civil Registry Department at 721-542-0652 or email us at burkazakensxm@stmartingov.org. We are located at the Government Administration Building, Swaliga Road, number 1, Phillipsburg, St. Martin.
Are you planning on getting married? When getting married on St. Martin, you have to submit a marriage intention by the Civil Registry. This can only be done by 2 persons of opposite sex. This request, whether in person or in writing, must be submitted at least 14 days before the date of marriage. During that time, the Civil Registry verifies the marital status of each individual getting married. If the marriage does not take place within 1 year, the marriage intention process has to start over. The following documents needed are a detailed birth certificate. Unmarried persons must present a declaration of marital status. If widow, a death certificate. If divorce, a divorce certificate. All documents must be originals, not older than 3 years, and may require legalization. Additional information and documents needed are passport copies of the bride, groom, and witnesses. All foreign documents must be translated in Dutch or English. The price for contracting marriage depends on your choice of location and day of the ceremony, whether at the marriage hall or away from the marriage hall, and will be minimum 315 guilders or maximum 725 guilders. Non-Dutch nationals requires attending an interview at the Immigration Department. Marriages will be performed after all documents are found correct by the Civil Registrar. The law separates church from state. Witnesses are minimum 2 and maximum 6. Please contact the Civil Registry Department for more information before planning your marriage.
Hello, and welcome back to this edition of Inside Government with your host, Charity Dunker, and I'm being joined by my guest, the Honorable Minister of TIAT, Roger Lawrence. Hotel occupancy. Let's touch base on that. What's the feedback from some of the hotels thus far, where bookings are concerned, and are they all booked out for the high season, Minister?
Based on my conversations with the hoteliers, I do have ongoing conversation with them, in particularly with SHTA as well. Bookings are looking very strong. In the month of December alone, I believe we increased by 70%, and that is anticipated to continue throughout. So again, to confirm, bookings are looking very robust, very strong.
Good. Restaurants. You know, we all like the cuisine, and many travel to our islands, to our shores for that. Restaurants, as for the restaurants on our island, playing a major role in our tourism economy since the COVID-19 measures been in place. How have some of them enhanced their services to their visiting customers?
That's an excellent question, Charity. As you know, and I mentioned it prior, that we're not post-COVID. We're still in the realities of COVID. The situation is so fluid. So I also want to take this opportunity to remind everyone to continue adhering to the protocols that exist. There's no time to be nonchalant at this point in time. There are clear protocols. From a standpoint, I tend not to go into the discussion as it relates to vaccinated or not. If you're vaccinated, that's good. There's the booster shot that is out now for everyone. If you still have concerns as it relates to being vaccinated, follow the clear protocols that exist. This will then in turn be very beneficial to us as a country to continue to move forward in a very successful trajectory that we have been doing so far, and also being able to go out there and discuss with our international partners to continue to put St. Martin on the map in order to be a leading destination once again. So again, I want to use this platform. There's no time to be complacent. Let's follow the protocols, everyone. Let's bind together and do this thing and continue to push the destination forward as a unit from that stand.
Has there been an increase to submitting requests for opening of restaurants since the island has been reopened?
Yes. Sorry?
Since it's been reopened, so to speak.
Correct. We have seen an increase, particularly with restaurant requests, which is pretty positive to the extent that it also shows the confidence level of persons in our community. So we have seen an increase, and again, it shows the overall confidence of individuals here on the island.
Great. Tours and Entertainment Minister. How has everyone been preparing prior to the start of the season, or shall we say prior to visitors returning to our shores, taxi drivers, tours, nightly entertainment, clubs, lounges, sports bars, casinos, etc.?
I tend to be very hands-on where these, let's say, areas are concerned. Over the past weeks, I would always go out because I want to gauge the situation on the floor as well. I also want to measure things. And in many of my discussions or observations, persons are very much excited for the season, very thankful for the numbers that we're seeing. Overall, I spoke to a few business owners over the weekend. As you know, we had the event on the boardwalk. We also had an event at Emilio. I was also down Simpson Bay, etc., and just having overall discussions. Persons are still concerned with the realities of COVID, with the new variant. But from what I gathered, from the data I gathered, is that they're ensuring that they maintain the protocols and continue to promote sticking with the healthy protocols that exist. So that is information that I can share right now based on my observation, that people are still excited as it relates to going forward with the season. So the excitement is there. There is some concerns, but from what I gathered, they're addressing the concerns as it relates to following the protocols and ensuring that guests are properly apprised of the protocols that exist.
Lastly, projects. Right before we end the interview, this is a three-part question. As for projects, so what current projects you're working on, please mention those. And what are the future projects you and the ministry are currently working on? When will they begin?
Well, Charity, throughout our discussion, I touched on a few of them. In many of my discussions with stakeholders, investors, there are three key constant factors that normally comes up. The airport is one of them, and I touched on that prior. The STA, the St. Martin Tourism Authority, is another thing that always comes up. And the beauty of that is that some of the stakeholders is already discussing how they can be part of it, how they can contribute to ensure that the STA is established, it's realized rather. And one of the other points that normally comes up in many of the discussions is also USP clearance. That's also a key topic when it's going to happen. Can we have a discussion? Can we have a roundtable discussion? Can we have a forum? So these are key indicators for me that the time is now in order to execute a lot of these key initiatives. Another initiative that I'm also working on as it relates to the business license is to digitalize the business license, make it more easier for persons to apply and receive their business licenses. Our local creatives, put them out there to sell their God-given talent from that standpoint. Over the weekend, as I mentioned, I was on the boardwalk, and I was so happy to see our local vendors and our creatives selling their craft. It meant a lot for me. But one of the things I thought to myself is that I don't only want to see this for the holidays, I want to see it all around. Because at the end of the day, when you discuss with many of our tourists that comes to St. Martin or new entries, one of the key things that I realized they're asking now, how can I be a local from that standpoint? So I think that is something we need to continue to re-emphasize on. At this point in time, the product mix needs to diversify. We have to push more of our locals out there to sell their craft and also showcase who we are as St. Martiners.
Well said, Minister. And again, thank you so very much. We've come to the end of this program. Thank you for being a part of this edition of Inside Government, Minister. Any closing remarks with a couple seconds?
Definitely, Charity. Thank you once again for having me. It was a pleasure. I'm very optimistic for the future, as I mentioned. And one of the key things in order for us to propel the destination forward is that we do it from a holistic standpoint. And I also want to maintain and re-emphasize together we're stronger. So once again, thank you for this opportunity. Happy holidays to you and your team, and happy holidays to everyone and all your viewers and the residents of St. Martin. Thank you.
Same to you. To our radio listeners and also television viewers, thank you for tuning in and being a part of this edition of Inside Government. If you have missed this broadcast, be sure to log on to the official government's website, which is at stmartingov.org. And also for on demand, you can do the same. For rebroadcast, be sure to listen and tune in to St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM. On behalf of our team at the Department of Communication, we bid you a pleasant day further, and thanks for tuning in.